Anin Boujou. My name is Christian Taylor Johnson. This is the Nation Building and Leadership Podcast. Today's date is Saturday, April 4th, 2020. And we're going to be discussing a couple of topics tonight. Before I get into that, let's go around and have everybody introduce themselves.
This is RuthAnn, Donnell Brown, just checking in to do our podcast.
Hey, I'm Joe Oppegaard-Peltier. Just checking in to do the podcast this week.
Ani, Nanashinabe Dug, Alicia here. I'm glad to see everybody again.
Awesome. Well, as always, it's great to see your guys' faces. I wish we were actually sitting around the table and talking. I really miss you guys. All right, so a couple of topics that we're going to talk about tonight. First, we're going to talk about the Red Lake and how they've implemented medical martial law, and I guess a little bit about what that means. And RuthAnn will probably go in to how she feels as a Red Lake band member. And then we're going to talk about the stimulus package and how that affects Native nations and how exactly Native nations are going to get that. Yeah, I guess let's start with Red Lake and their medical martial law. This is weird, I guess. This is a little unprecedented. Red Lake Tribal Chairman Daryl Seekey Sr. Announced that medical martial law will go into effect at 5 p.m. on Friday, April 3rd. So that for us, that was yesterday, and will remain in place for at least 15 days. And I guess it expands executive authorities and allows for streamlined decision making by the chairman and the tribal council to quickly address newly developing threats to safety and security. I guess they're having a 10 p.m. curfew, 10 to 6 a.m. And people are quarantined to their homes and yards with exceptions of emergencies, and food and caring for elders or vulnerable people. And then I also guess non-band members can't be on the res.
I just think that I don't think you can go on or off after 5. So if you're here, you're here. If you want to go, you got to be out of here by 5. But they do have the roadblocks up, so I don't know if it's changed, because I went through yesterday and there was none yet, and then it started at 5, and I haven't been anywhere since I came home yesterday, so I'm not sure. But we still have the curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and I just basically stay home, and I have my mother who is elderly, and then I have myself also, and then I am an essential employee, so that kind of helps me to be able to go and do stuff for the 10 days that they have us on lockdown here. So yeah, it's just it's really interesting, and yet it's not really different from my normal life. So just only knowing that I can't go anywhere is I suppose for people that are used to going places, so yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, RuthAnn, but I'm gonna put a little order to this. Go ahead, Joey, you had something that you wanted to say?
So it goes further than just what you had stated. With the curfew, there will be it's actually being enforced. The first violation will result in a warning. The second violation will result in a citation of $100. And if you're driving, a third violation would result in your vehicle being towed. If you're just walking, I'd assume your third violation would be another $100 fine. Stopped all non-essential meetings and gatherings. Arrangements for any use of the band's community centers for funerals must be arranged through the community coordinators. Funerals and wakes held at any locations on the Red Lake Nation shall be limited to 10 adults at one time, and additional adults will be required to rotate in so that there is no more than 10 adults. Let's see, no children will be permitted at wakes and funerals while the medical martial law is in effect. All travel to and from the reservation shall be strictly monitored to assure that essential travel takes place. The travel limitations allowed for trips for food, medical purposes. Pretty much that's why there are the roadblocks on the reservation. I'd assume they're not allowing any non-tribal members to be there also. I mean, why be on the reservation if you're not supposed to be there anyways?
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's how come I really don't, it's not too important to me because I don't, I'm not like out in the community a lot, and so I'm not really I did hear him say his couple of his speeches, so I did hear that, and I just figure just do my part and stay home with my mom, and then the only time that I go anywhere is if we need groceries, and I've stocked up for over a week now, so I won't have to go anywhere for a long time. But I am a member, and I am an essential employee, so I can go and do what I have to do without, getting in trouble. So, yay!
How are your relatives handling this, though? How are they being locked up?
Well, I think they suffer more by not being able to go to the casinos more than anything. So yeah, they're kind of trying to come up with different things to, but for me, when I'm at home with my mom and I can't go nowhere because I have to be here with her, I usually just get on the computer and do slot machines on a computer just to get the urge out of me. So hopefully that's what everybody's doing. I haven't heard of anything bad happening from this, so we'll just hope and pray that it keeps continuing for the next 10 days or 9 days. So yeah, they just kind of try to keep busy doing stuff because, I mean, it takes a lot to take care of people, and you have to have one meal, clean it up, then if you have laundry and other things, then you got to do that, then you got to feed them again and do all that. So it all takes time during the day. So it's not like we get to sit around and twiddle our thumbs or anything. So
yeah. That actually, I've noticed that my time's actually flying by faster sitting in the house because I've been so busy with like my homework and stuff, like catching up and
right.
stuff that
Yeah.
today it just flew by. Like it was like, oh, I have all day to sit here and like research the topics for the podcast, but and then it just was like, oh well, I better start doing that like right now because it's about to be here.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they're taking it really, really serious. So hopefully they did try to find. There was one that was sick and he was working at the subway in Red Lake at the trading post, but I don't know what came of that. They're still waiting for his test results to come back. And then there was supposed to be somebody else that was working up by the government center in Red Lake, and he lived in Bemidji but came up here to work. So I haven't heard nothing more on that story. So, but so far there's nobody here with it. So.
Right. So Alicia, what do you think about all of that?
Well, I don't know, this martial law thing is just to restrict people, and keep them safe in their home. It's not, to me, it's not like saying it's confinement. It's just, I look at it like trying to keep people safe and, and I guess try to keep it under control. And it is crazy, you guys have border patrol. Well, they're not border patrol, but they're
Right.
yeah.
The blockades.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's it affecting your work?
My work?
Yeah.
Well, I work for Leech Lake and we haven't got to that point yet. I don't know if we ever will because there's just so many in and outs of Leech Lake. I mean, it would be just chaos to try to block all the roads coming in there. And, I also heard, Red Lake has reached out to other like law enforcement agencies they might need their help, guarding the, in and out of Red Lake. And
Yeah, I was just wondering, I was pondering that myself, like could Leech Lake implement something like that? And honestly, I don't know if they could, just because like Highway 2 and 371, like those, like there's so many different counties and like jurisdictional issues that pop up when it comes to Leech Lake, because it's not necessarily, it's like it's a sovereign nation, obviously, but it's that they have a different standing with the federal government and the other localities that are around it, just because like they have a different relationship.
So
Yeah,
pretty much what they're relying on is waiting for Governor Walz to actually implement a shutdown or a stay at home.
yeah. And Red Lake is unique, they have the capabilities to shut their borders down. And, with working, I've had, different calls, and it still sounds like people like from the cities area and everything they're coming up to their cabins and stuff, and they could be bringing that up here.
They most likely are.
Mm-hmm. That's scary. That is scary. That's who they should be stopping.
I'm not necessarily worried about them bringing it up here. I'm more concerned that they're congesting the area. I mean, you have those folks going to our grocery stores now, and that's adding more people into those grocery stores and gas stations.
Well, and then if they need to go to the hospital, they're going to congest the hospital more as well.
Yep.
Like that's like, I feel like we were saying this with the last podcast when I was in my car. Like, keep your asses home.
Right?
Quit buying popping candy bars for the fun of it.
Just stay home. Like, keep your asses home. I'm not even playing. Just go home. Stay home. There's no reason for you to be on the road unless you are an essential employee. And if you're not an essential employee, like just chill, play some card games, pull out a bottle, play video games. There's so much to do. Clean your house. Go clean your attic. I bet you your closet could use some hardcore cleaning out. Like, there's so much that you could be doing. Garden, shovel the snow.
True.
Start a garden. It's about to be spring. Start the spring cleaning early. Something, just anything, So let's switch gears here and let's talk about the stimulus package and how Native nations are going to receive that stimulus package. Joe, do you want to do this? You've been quieter than usual.
So the tribes have been lobbying Congress to actually include us into the stimulus bills. From what I was reading earlier today, and I can't find that article, we were trying to get $20 billion from the $3 trillion that the stimulus bill was. We ended up getting $10 billion out of it. Out of that $10 billion, 8 of it went to what the tribes have already put forward into the COVID-19 crisis, and then $1 billion of that will be going to tribal health itself. With the remaining amount, some is going to unemployment to support teleworking so we can actually work from home as tribes rather than having to gather up again. Overtime costs, welfare assistance, social service programs, and to expand safety and emergency response. Another part of that $10 billion is going to child care providers, paying for staffing and transportation, cleaning at the tribal schools and colleges. We got $10 billion. We were asking for $20 billion. We kind of got left out of the first, I want to say, 2 stimulus bills that were presented, and we finally got into the third with that $10 billion. We could use more. We need a lobby for more with the upcoming stimulus legislations coming out, and they need to figure out a way to actually take this out of the U.S. Treasury's hands and actually give it to the tribes in a more efficient manner, because at this moment in time, there's about a dozen tribes that don't have the staffing educational requirements to actually access those funds itself.
Well,
Yeah, like how much help is actually going to the people and not like other things, like
at the moment it's in the hands of the U.S. Treasury Department, and each tribe has to apply to the Treasury Department to actually receive any of those funds back. And that depends on the tribes who they have running those individual programs to apply for it. And what entails that is more jobs and more time to actually get those funds to the tribes that when we need it. It's going to take forever to actually receive any of those funds, months down the line.
Yep.
So,
but I do know though. Excuse me, sorry, Christian. But I do know that they are paying the border patrols. So I do know that. So I don't know where they're getting that money from, but they are paying the border patrol people because they're trying to recruit people to be able to go and do those, because they have to be there they have 24 hours for 9 more days. So, I'm sure that's going to be a pretty penny.
Is it BIA or is it just local?
I think it's local.
So, on top of like that money going towards like Indian Health Service as well, I guess some of the money is also going to go towards the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Bureau of Indian Education, and it's going to go to the HUD office for Native American programming also. So let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that Donald Trump is responding well and doing a good job during this pandemic?
No, because I think he's a liar. And then I think that he knew all along that this is what was going to happen, because he keeps on saying that, oh, yeah, it's from over there. It's from over there, when he knows dang well where it came from and what's going on. You can tell that he knows, because he's not being truthful. He's not a very good liar.
I don't know. I think his response has been absolute trash, garbage, just like his entire. My friend, I only ask, I guess, because my friend said that she thought he was doing a good job, and she only thought that he was doing a good job because she set her expectations so low that he did better than her expectations. She was expecting like people to be out in the streets shooting and looting and all kinds of crazy shit, and because that's not going on, she's like, well,
we're 3 weeks in. Just wait until the 6-week mark. You're going to have people out on the streets with their guns, shooting and looting.
They better not be. Oh my God. I hope not.
What week are we on?
About third.
Third week?
Yeah. Since
feels like the 90th week.
Well, it'll be a month pretty soon that we haven't been at school. A few more next week.
Yeah.
On the 9th will be a month that we haven't been at school already. So
what were you gonna play us, Joe?
Okay.
This is Dan Simons. I'm one of the founders of Social Distance Powwow. I have with me today the chairman of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, Cedric Cromwell. I'm giving him this platform for some time to speak about what's going on and just share his story, which is our story. And this is how we're doing it today. I'm not as fancy as Whitney, so this is how we're doing things. This is Cedric Cromwell live.
Hey, Dan, how are you, brother?
Hey, brother. Good.
Thank you for having me on this important page for Indian country. We're going through some very serious times here for Indian country. As you know, self-determination, self-governance as Indian tribal nations are so important. It's paramount for all of our people as we provide governance for our own people on our own lands. The history of all our tribes is that, hey, listen, we provided governance on our lands all across this country before it was a country. We had our territories, we had our lands, we had our governance, we had our chiefs, our sub-chiefs, our clans, and together we provided prosperity and uplift. If you use the word wealth, we had all the wealth back then because our tribes had all the natural resources. In comes this greed-based economy, and here we are today. I'm here to tell you that the extermination era is now being introduced by the United States government. And that's a very serious point here. The extermination era by this Trump administration is now being administered and executed upon. This past Friday at 4 o'clock, I was on a conference call with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, our trustee, the group that is supposed to be working with all our tribes with respect to our homelands and helping us out to be prosperous as Indian nations. While this administration is effectively working against Indian country, they called me up on Friday with a conference call. Gentleman from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Darrell LeCount, who is also a native, told me I've been instructed by Secretary Bernhardt of the Department of Interior to take the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe's land out of trust. I want you to understand this, Indian country and all of America. What? Secretary Bernhardt, instructed by President Donald Trump, had a native who works in the Interior, Darrell LeCount, Director of Bureau of Indian Affairs, call me up on Friday, speak to my Vice Chair, Jesse Little-Dobeard, and our tribal attorneys, and tell me he has been instructed to take away our homelands. Folks, this is crazy. That's like you and I going up to the states that we live in and telling those states we're taking away your state lands. You can no longer govern over your lands or this country. Going up to the United States Congress saying we now have officially
it's buffering
land. You cannot govern on your land anymore. That means that we are now being terminated by this United States government. A little history on the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, where that tribe that met the first settlers many, many moons ago, created this quote-unquote history of Thanksgiving. The Indians that sat down with those first settlers was us, the Wampanoag Nation. And it wasn't depicted like what Norman Rockwell showed, Indians sitting on the ground, a woman in an apron handing us pies, and we're just smiling, shrugging our shoulders. No, that is a terroristic picture displaying weakness and meekness of who we are as Indian people. In fact, it was truly about a 90-men, Massasoit Usamikwen, our great Sanchim, our chief, went over to the settlers because they were out in the field shooting guns and weapons. And he said, at Usamikwen, as they call Massasoit means great chief in our language. There's a statue of him in Washington State with the Yakama Nation, and also there's a statue of him in Plymouth, Massachusetts. He's the great chief. He provided the longest amount of peace in this country, 75 years. Okay, so he was the first, if you will, president of the United States, was Usamikwen. Sent 90 men over to the settlers to ask them why they were shooting and practicing arms. And, they said, we're just having target practice. They were trying to prepare for war to come over and take us down. So then we sat down and had a meeting for 3 days. There was feast and fowl, but it was shellfish because we're a seafaring people. So there was lobster, oysters, quahogs, clams. Rich people like to say that's very wealthy food. That's how we ate as indigenous people on the East Coast in Massachusetts. And they provided alcohol and liquor and tried to get our women drunk and all that stuff. That is, quote unquote, what Thanksgiving was about to come to a peace offering. Fast forward to tape today. Here we are, our tribe being mentioned by Trump 2 years ago on Native American Heritage Month. We want to thank the Wampanoag Nation for your contributions and establishing this country. In fact, my tribe was the tribe that gave land up to Plymouth Colony, which then became the United States of America. So we provided the first anchor of land to establish this country. We fought in the Revolutionary War. We fought in every conflict, okay, across the United States of America, even till current today. Do you know that Native Americans, per capita distribution of people, we provide the most people for armed services in the United States of America. We provided all the resources, Native American people, for the United States of America. We, Native American people, formed this country through the blood and bones of our ancestors, our resources, our land. Friday at 4 o'clock during this national, worldwide, global pandemic of the coronavirus, where we, just like anybody else, starving people, we're trying to protect our people. My tribe is focused on resources, trying to gain resources, supplies for our people, protection for our people. And all of a sudden, a call at 4 o'clock on Friday. See, this is how nefarious this administration is. This is how corrupt they are. Everybody's screaming during the pandemic, we're going to call the Mashpees and tell them that one of the most historical tribes in this nation, we're going to tell them we're taking their land away. And guess what? Nobody will be paying attention. The tribes aren't doing anything about it. As a matter of fact, they calculated this. They figured that Indian country is not going to do anything about it. They figured that America is not going to do anything about it. Why? Because we as Indian country, this is a call to arms to all of Indian country. I'm calling out there to all tribes that we must unite and stand together. Okay? We must unite and stand together. We must fight this fight together. As today, as the Trump administration has introduced the extermination era to all of Indian country, and it's happening to my tribe, it's just not an attack on my tribe. It is an attack on your tribe and all of Indian country. It is an attack on America. This is a terroristic action taken by this administration. They want to talk about Al-Qaeda and terrorism all across the country. This is terrorism right in our country while this pandemic is happening. They decided instead of focusing on the health and welfare of the people, I think we'll call it the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and tell them, we're taking your reservations away. We're taking your homelands away. This is what they decided to do on a Friday in the midst of a pandemic. We'll think, Secretary Bernhardt of Interior, instructed by Trump, telling Darrell LaCourte, who's a Native American, he's on the phone, I've been instructed to take your land away. Darrell, what does this mean? Why are you doing this? How come you're doing this? I've been told by Secretary Bernhardt to take your land away. Darrell, but you can't do this. What court mandate? There is no court mandate. Yeah, we live in Massachusetts. Senator Elizabeth Warren is the senator here in Massachusetts. We know Trump hates her. He hates Massachusetts, so I'll show Massachusetts something. I'll take it out on the tribe. I'll take it out on the tribe. But yet you talk about Indian country in my tribe, the contributions that the Wampanoag Nation has given to the formation of this country. And man, I'm going to give you a sucker punch. I'm going to punch you right in the nose as your trustee. Tribes are written into the United States Constitution, Article 6 of the Constitution.
Huh?
Send me this link.
I already did.
I don't know what that means. But I'll tell you what it means today. That means that they can take away your land, take away your resources, erase your identity, and they feel that we as Indian people will do nothing about it.
Cedric, people are asking how can they help? What can they do?
We can talk about it.
Well, right now we're putting together form letters.
You can pause it so we can talk about it.
We need.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Positive. All right.
Yeah. Is the good part over?
The good part's over.
Okay, yeah.
I think I heard about that. Somebody had said, or I read it or seen it or heard something that they said that they need to watch out, or tribes need to watch out because Trump is going to take all the reservations. Yep.
Holy shit. I'm shook. Honestly, I don't even know what to say about that because, because of course, right now,
it shows the kind of person Trump is. And we were just talking about, do we think that Trump is actually leading and responding to this COVID-19 crisis as a good person? I mean, if he's attacking Native Nation like he is during this time, then no, he's not being a faithful custodian of our country and of our people. We need to stand united. We need to stand together against him. And this is a terroristic act from the President of the United States against Native Nation.
He just took all the Wampanoag land out of trust.
Just took them out of trust.
Which means he just defederally recognized them?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Which means that what that does, that it allows the United States government to go onto that land and to use eminent domain laws to take the minerals and the rights and even the land itself. If that would happen to Red Lake, or if that would happen to the Turtle Mountains, you can guarantee there would be a pipeline in there without paying the tribal members, without having any protection from treaties. Oh, dude, that is such a disgusting act from a monster.
Man, that's setting precedents too. Oh man, they're gonna be like.
I know, for federal Indian law too. Because what kind of case can we bring up with that?
I mean, yeah. At that point, like you're no longer a nation. You're just American citizens now.
It's sad.
I wonder if they can take Red Lake, huh?
Yeah, they could. All they'd have to do is take your land out of trust, just like they did to the Wampanoag on a Friday afternoon. Holy shit!
During a national crisis.
That is 12 kinds of crazy. So does that mean they don't qualify now for the stimulus?
So they no longer qualify for the stimulus assistance because they're not a tribe. Their citizens still qualify for the frickin' adjusted
loan.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, literally, they don't get the federal recognition for when their students go to school. They don't get the tribal assistance for their schooling, their pre-K and up to 12th grade schooling. You can guarantee those tribal members don't have tribal health anymore, since they're not a recognized tribe, and all the protections and benefits from the WIA Act. Yeah, it just annihilate. Like,
they can't do that. That's got to go to the Supreme Court. There's no way, because oh man, that's intense. They're definitely already filing injunctions and paperwork and everything. You know, their lawyers are on it. No, their lawyers have become more than essential now.
I wanted to bring this up because it should be something we speak about in this podcast, and I wanted to bring more acknowledgement and recognition to the Wampanoag tribe and the monstrous acts of Donald Trump. Other than that, I'm going to close it out this time because I'm owning it. Thank you for listening to the Nation Building Podcast. Thank you to my co-hosts, RuthAnn, Alicia, and Christian. And we're signing out for tonight. See you next week.
Thank you. Be safe, guys. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.